It's Labor Day weekend, and the Inner Harbor and downtown Baltimore are live with something this area has never seen before. The streets that these people normally take to work have been converted to a street course for the IZOD IndyCar Series drivers. Welcome to Peak Pole qualifying on Versus for tomorrow's inaugural Baltimore Grand Prix. And the first round is underway of qualifying, knockout qualifying. There are, of course, two groups in round number one, and we have about 6.5 minutes to go in the first round for this Group 1 driver set. Ryan Briscoe right now is the fastest as we watched Alex Tagliani on this 2.04-mile street course that has been prepared here in Baltimore. This first session is a 15-minute session for each of the two groups. Then round number two, they take the fastest 12 cars, 6 from each of the round one sessions. That'll be a 10-minute session, and the Firestone Fast 6 is also a 10-minute session to determine the winner of the Peak Pole Award. Dario Franchitti, wow, is parked somewhere on race course, and right now he is the second fastest. That's at the exit of turn number one as Ryan Hunter-Reay goes around him. Let's take a look at what happened as he gets back on course.
I think we're going to see a lot of this in turn one, guys, just because it's such a hard braking zone and it's bumpy and the right front locks up, or you get a front tire locks up and you've got to go straight. Fortunately, this is you can get off here and continue on the racetrack without too much trouble. Also, Dario kind of he took it a little bit wide there and got hung up. But I've seen Elio is really good at it because he did it like 3 or 4 times this morning in practice.
This is group number one of round number one. The drivers in it. Again, the top 6 will transfer into the second round. Dario Franchitti was the fastest in this group in the practices that we had yesterday and today. And there you can see the rest of the drivers in this session. Ryan Briscoe continues to be at the top of the chart right now, and we are on board with Ryan, who had a rather nasty crash here yesterday.
Pantano to the top.
Giorgio Pantano is back in the 22 car, and he has gone to the top of the scoring chart as Ryan Briscoe negotiates turn number 9.
I think this track, I think every lap is just going to be faster and faster here.
And here's what happened to Ryan Briscoe yesterday approaching turn number 5, 6.
That hurt.
It did. Came in a bit hot. Didn't make the apex. Couldn't get it turned. And amazingly, did not injure his wrists or his thumbs, because obviously when that front wheel grabbed those tires before that concrete barrier, that was a big wallop on the steering wheel.
Ryan Hunter-Reay just went to the top of the scoring chart, and we go down to Kevin Lee.
Ryan Briscoe said after this morning's practice that he spent a lot of that time just trying to get his confidence back. That's normal after a crash, especially when you're talking about a circuit that you're not familiar with. And he is one of many that's not real comfortable with the turn 5 area where it weaves back and forth. He said yesterday that was ridiculous, it's unsafe, but he understands there's really not a lot they can do about it at this point, so he'll make his point across for next year. But in general, even though there are some concerns about a new track, which is usually the case, the drivers are raving about it. They say it's a technical track, it's very busy, very challenging, but they love the atmosphere and the huge crowds that we've had here so far this weekend.
Scott Dixon also crashed yesterday, and he has gone to the top of the chart, as you can see at the top of your screen. Ryan Hunter-Reay second. Then James Jakes now moving to third. Fourth is Giorgio Pantano. Ray Hall and Briscoe complete the 6th that right now would transfer
Briscoe,
into round number 2.
Yeah, he went from 1st to 6th in just a minute. That's what I'm saying. We had some rain earlier, so the track is just drying up, and I think it's just going to get faster and faster every single lap. So I think this top 6 is going to be jumping around quite a bit.
And Dario has a great lap going here. He only has a couple of corners before he gets to the timing line. This is turn 3, and after he gets around turn 3, he'll make a left past turn 4, and that will be the timing line. So he has a great bit of splits going here. This should be great for Franchitti, and there's the line.
There's the line. 2 minutes to go in this first round for group number 1. Dixon, Ryan Hunter-Ray, Franchitti, Jakes, Pontono, and Bourdais. And now Ryan Briscoe to the top as Sebastian Bourdais gets knocked out of the top 6.
Pontono is right on the border right now. He is in 6th.
And there are 2 or 3 cars that have splits at the moment that would put them 5th, which means if they cross, that bumps someone out. So 2 or 3 people. This final transfer spot, as the time winds down, is going to be really tight.
A minute and a half left. This is turn number 12. And onto the front stretch. Marty Snyder has more from pit lane.
Well, and we've got some surprises up here in the top 6, as you guys have mentioned. James Jakes, Giorgio Pontono, and Graham Rahal, who expected to be in the top 6 thus far, but is running out of time and fuel. They told him you have 2 laps left to get this done. That's certainly pressure to get it done in a short amount of time.
Now watch the monitor, Bob, because Sebastian Bourdais has good splits, and there he goes. Sebastian Bourdais up to 3rd.
Meanwhile, Graham Rahal, that we are following, is...
now he takes 3rd.
Yeah, up to 3rd.
Bourdais down to 4, so that bumps out Pontono.
Jakes, Pontono, Hinchcliffe, Hildebrand, Tagliani, Andretti, Patrick, Danica Patrick, and Ed Carpenter all on the outside looking in, as we have now about 30 seconds left in this group.
Sebastian Bourdais has clear racetrack. He's got to be thrilled right now with the 4th spot. And this is definitely, Bob and Wally, the hardest group. This is going to be the toughest one to transfer through. A lot of hot dogs in this one.
It's a little chicane off of the final corner that they're thinking about taking out for the race tomorrow. And Dario once again off course, missing a corner. That's in turn 9.
Yeah.
Timeline checkered flag.
Franchitti is in 6th right now. Got anybody looking like a possible knockout here, John?
Well, he may have just skated in.
There's the checkered.
Don't see any other splits that could rally him. Tagliani is going to move up a couple spots, but not to 6. So looks like Dario Franchitti may have dodged a bullet.
You see the cone on the fence. That's the timing line.
Well, that was close for Dario, though. There is Sebastian Bourdais crossing the stripe, as does Graham Rahal. And, of course, Franchitti will be allowed to complete his lap.
Won't be a good one, though.
No. So it's Dixon, Briscoe, Rahal, Bourdais, Hunter-Ray, and Franchitti, the top 6. As the checkered flag has already fallen, but of course the drivers still on course will get to complete their lap.
The biggest surprise to me is James Hinchcliffe on the outside in 9th. In each of the 2 qualifier practice sessions before qualifying, he had been quick.
So that completes group number 1 and round number 1, and we have 6 drivers who have advanced, and this is the spin by Dario Franchitti at turn number 9, and just slight contact with the tires.
And it's because you're braking and turning on the entry, and just when you're braking and have a bit of rear bias, we saw Ryan Hunter-Ray in practice do the same thing.
And Chip Ganassi, his car owner, is disgusted, but...
You're all right, Chip.
Yep.
He'll get in.
He survived Group 1 in round number 1. 6 drivers who advanced to the second round include Sebastian Bourdais, who ended up in 4th position. Here are the advancers: Dixon, Briscoe, Rahal, Bourdais, Hunter-Ray, and Franchitti. Those drivers advanced to round number 2. We've got Group 2 in round number 1 coming up. We are in knockout qualifying for the Baltimore Grand Prix tomorrow. Will Power, currently 2nd in points, will be in the 2nd group, and we will be back for that in just a moment. Stay with us.
IZOD IndyCar qualifying on Versus is presented by Peak Performance Products. When you peak, you win. And by IZOD, the official apparel of the IZOD IndyCar Series, available at Macy's.
Group 2, round 1 on course, and I must say the residents of the city of Baltimore have really come out in full to watch the activity here this weekend in a beautiful and historic part of the city in Camden Yards. Now, the track itself, as I indicated, are the streets that they drive to work. Jan, let's take a look.
Bob, it's a 13-turn layout, and just like you talked about, it's on the actual city streets around Camden Yards. But look, as you go down into turn number 1, this is all concrete down to 30 miles an hour, a great passing zone into 1. Another good place to pass into a hairpin into turn 3. Now, right about the turn 5 section, it turns into asphalt. So much higher grip, much higher speeds relative to the concrete sections, and you stay asphalt all the way until right about here when you get to Pratt Street. Then you're back to concrete and a chicane, and very, very bumpy. Now, don't forget about Pit Road. Pit Road, as you can see highlighted there, not on the main straightaway.
14 drivers on course, hoping to make the top 6. As we take a look at Simona De Silvestro, and yes, she is back in her mount, as last weekend in Sonoma, she was denied entry into this country. Giorgio, or rather, round 1 Group 2 drivers coming up here. Simone Pagino drove that car last week at Sonoma. The other drivers that are in group number 2, and right now Will Power is the quickest. Mike Conway second, then Kanan, Viso, Castro Neves, and Mira.
That turn number 9
changes every second.
Yeah.
Well, that turn 9 that Simona just came off of, the way that wall angles back, it just invites a driver to use lots of road on the exit. It hasn't bit anyone yet. Servia pulls over to let her go because he just had some contact with the wall that gave him a flat, but they replaced it. Obviously, no suspension damage for him right now.
One more good.
Kevin Lee is with Roger Penske.
Bob, last week, a fantastic week for Team Penske. They won a Cup race and an IndyCar race for the first time since 2000, and 1-2-3 in IndyCar for the first time in 17 years. Still a lot to do this season, but we're already thinking about next season, and there's some rumblings that Helio Castroneves either has a deal or is real close to stay with your team. Where do things stand for 3 cars for next season?
Well, our goal, obviously, is to run 3 cars. We don't make our announcement until we get to the end of this season, but Helio did a great job last week along with Ryan. So our goal is to continue on in the same manner where we are today. So we'll just wait to see.
So nothing we can report yet on Helio?
Nothing to report right now. I think, as I said, it's premature. We still have 4 or 5 races to go. We're putting our sponsorships together, but obviously Helio's been with us for a long time as Ryan has, so our goal is to keep going.
Okay, that's Roger Penske. So far, so good for his guys today.
Takuma Sato has spun. Top of your screen, you see in a full course caution is coming out. Power, Conway, Sato, Viso, Kanan, and Castro Neves, as we have a full course caution. That is Martin Plowman of the 17 driving around the stalled car of Takuma Sato. We'll take a look at what happened. Turn 3.
Approaching turn 3 on the brakes. And it looks like he's got it saved, but unfortunately here he stalls it. Now, Wally, because this brings out a full course caution, actually he kept it running. It's when he went to pull forward that he killed it. He now loses, and Mike Conway has joined him. And if Sato, of course, was the reason for the full course caution, he loses his fastest 2 laps. So he essentially, unless he's not going to have time to run 3 fast laps, he's going to not transfer.
I think Sato was way too close to the wall, John, when he went to go braking. I think he got in the loose stuff there because he was way, way, way close to the wall. And there's a lot of fine dust and dirt over there. And I think when he got on the brakes, it broke him loose a little bit.
Macho safety team has starters so they can get him restarted. Again, he did a nice job of keeping it running, getting it into neutral, but unfortunately, just when he went to pull away, dumped the clutch and pow, lost power.
On board with Mike Conway, who's currently second quick, showing some new colors on that machine this weekend, pulling into his pit stall.
Yeah, Mike's been fast all weekend.
Yeah.
Very good car.
Matter of fact, he was 18th overall in the practice period. So this shouldn't be a very long caution. In fact, I believe the green is back out as Sato is moving once again. So the clock continues to run here.
going to have a whole lot of time here to get a good lap or two in.
Those looking to get in include Mira, Kimball, Plowman, Beatrice, Schechter, Saavedra, Sato, and Serbia. As we follow Elio Castroneves, who's currently 5th.
Elio, you got time for one good lap, one hard lap.
And just watch the time remaining on the upper right. He has to get to, not the start finish, but the timing line where they start that before time expires. So he'll get there easily because this is turn 2. And it's just after turn 4 where the timing line. But anyone who doesn't make it to that timing line before time expires will not even have a shot at doing that lap.
And Castroneves is in right now, but this is just an insurance policy right here, this lap.
So just after this corner, you'll see a line across the road right there, and the cones up on the fence.
Okay, everybody on track now will get a guaranteed 1 lap. Elio does not have a pole this year. He has 2 second-place starts at Milwaukee and last weekend at Sonoma, but no pole position for Elio, although he has 29 in his IZOD IndyCar Series career.
Castroneves has improved a little bit. These are early, of course, in the splits.
Whoa, he just gave it away right there.
Oh, and
that's it.
Now they take the lap away if you miss the chicane.
So Elio is going to stay at 5th right now. The question is anybody going to be able to knock him out of the top 6? Checkered flag out.
Car 3, shortcut.
Yep.
That's Sebastian Saavedra.
Yeah, even before the shortcut, I think, Jan, just even when he got that car a little bit loose, that's so much time you lose when you're on a qualifying lap.
Red up here, the top of your screen indicates the driver is in the pit area, so both Power and Conway are sitting on pit lane as they are the 2 fastest. Let's see if Viso jumps up to 3rd. Canan looks like may make the top 6, as Simona De Silvestro might here in the closing stages. Here's Charlie Kimball coming through. He doesn't advance. Anna Beatrice. There's Thomas Schechter and Vitor Mira. Mira was 7th and trying to get in.
Oh, Sato. Sato went to 4th.
So Silvestro is out. Elio is 6th.
Well, not yet. Let's see.
Good job on the lap.
No, Simona didn't make it.
Nope.
Wow, what a run for Sato. Now, hang on a minute, though, because he'll lose his fastest lap. They may take that lap away. We see them as they pop up in position, but remember, he brought out the full course caution. They may take this lap away from Sato.
P4. They took that fast lap, too.
There you go.
He put in P4, but they took it. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to move Simona back up into 6th spot. How about that? Simona transfers to round 2. Way to go after a week off. But not surprisingly, Will Power is fastest in Group 2, round number 1. Mike Conway finishes 2nd quick. E.J. Viso was 3rd. So two of the KV Racing Technology cars up in the top 6. Power, Conway, Viso, Canan, Castroneves, and De Silvestro. Round 2 coming up.
I think it's just going to be an absolutely beautiful event to be going to. Anyone's race, though.
New challenge. No one has any data on that track, no setup, so you got to turn up there and be right on the ball every session.
It's going to be whoever has the right setup on the day and which driver, I think, really has learnt the track the quickest.
Who knows who's going to win that one? I mean, there's just could be anyone. Hopefully me.
First, however, we have to decide who's going to be the Peak Pole Position Award winner. And here are the drivers from group number 1 in round 1 who advanced to this round number 2, including Scott Dixon, Briscoe, Rahal, Bourdais, Hunter Ray, and Franchitti. And now the other 6 from group number 2, Power, Conway, Viso, Canan, Castroneves, and De Silvestro. And now we take the top 6 to go into the determination of the Firestone Fast 6 and the Peak Pole winner. Now, here are those who did not transfer and how they will start tomorrow. James Jakes will have his best start in an IZOD IndyCar Series race. Vitor Mir alongside in row number 7. Alex Tagliani and Anna Beatrice will be in row number 11. And the rest of the field, and again, Takuma Sato was quick in that round 1, Group 2. However, his fastest 2 laps were taken away because he caused a full course caution. Lindy.
Well, happy birthday, Simona. She turned 23 this week, and she gets let back in the U.S. to race. And for the first time this season, she makes it out of round 1. And listening to her scanner all weekend and talking to her, she really hasn't had many complaints, and she thinks the car just keeps getting better and better. Kevin Lee, I'm told that they are going to make just very, very small tweaks as they go along if they need to, but they feel great.
Lindy Scott Dixon was quickest in his group in segment 1. He was one of those that met the wall yesterday. He said it was a silly mistake and I ran out of talent. I think he's probably being a little bit harsh on himself. Scott got his first pole of the season a few weeks ago at Mid-Ohio. The team feels good coming into this weekend, and they've got an opportunity to get pole number 2. He started in the Fast 6 in 7 of 8 so far. Only Will Power has been better this season, Marty.
Kevin, we promised some surprises in the top 12, and we have it, including E.J. Viso, Sebastian Bourdais, and one guy who may not be a surprise to be in the top 12, but may be a surprise pole contender today is Mike Conway. He told me before he went out in the very first session, I think we have a legitimate chance to beat Will Power and be on the pole today. And the other interesting thing, guys, is that they've been dodging raindrops here this afternoon, so may they have to dodge some rain later in the session. That might be fun to watch. Bob?
Yeah, as I think you mentioned, Wally, it did rain here just a little bit, enough to wet the track, but that has all gone away, and maybe, though, there's more on the horizon.
I've been watching the onboard here inside the booth of Conway. He is wringing everything out of this race car there is. He's really aggressive here. Right now, he sits second fastest, but tell you what, he's not leaving much on the table.
Early in the go here, he is second, make that third quick. Franchitti, Briscoe, and Conway are the top 3 as we go to Robin Miller.
Hey, just for Jan and for Wally, the 12th row's got Marco Andretti and Thomas Scheckter, 2 guys with rich road racing backgrounds and traditions. Schechter's a Formula 1 test driver. Marco, I mean, he grew up in road racing, and for whatever reason, road race in and street race out, these guys just don't get it done in qualifying.
Yeah, I don't understand that, Robin. I mean, obviously there are some guys that are just great qualifiers, and you always find that in any kind of road racing. But I think there's so much you got to look at the cars. These cars have to drive right for the drivers. Every driver's got a little bit different feel. You've got to get the thing right, because if you don't have confidence in your race car, I don't care where you're driving. You can't give it 110%. Here's a guy that has a lot of confidence in his race car. You see it every weekend, and you see the way he drives.
And this is a flyer of a lap, Wally. He's already 3/10 up on his best. He's hanging it out. He hung it out in turn number 9, a place that we said you could take a big risk.
Well, Will has won 6 pole positions this year in the IZOD IndyCar Series. And nobody else has more than 2. He has dominated as far as qualifying is concerned, but still finds himself 26 points behind the points leader as the championship is drawing to a close. Dario Franchitti, of course, is the leader of the championship. And here is Scott Dixon, Franchitti's teammate. Scott is currently 9th out of 12.
And you may have seen Will Power's time just change. He's at a 1:20, almost flat. He took 0.4 of a second out on that lap. That was a great lap.
Graham Rahal to second spot.
Sebastian Bourdais has good splits. He could move to third.
Yep. Bourdais in. Franchitti out as of this moment. So Dixon right now.
Of course, now Will Power turned red, meaning he pulled onto pit road. And with a time like that, he's got to feel very safe. Franchitti splits. He could move up to third. again, so much has to do. That wasn't a fantastic turn 3, and that's the final corner. Well, I mean, you consider turn 4 here as well, but this is the timing line he crosses right there. 4. So that little turn 3 being slightly wide cost him 1 position.
Mike Conway is currently 8th fastest in this session. Needs to move up a couple of positions to transfer. And Marty has more.
And Bob, we told you he really felt confident that they could win the pole today. Right now, they're not even in the fast 6, so they've got a little bit of ground to make up. They've told him 5, 6, and 7. That's where you're losing your time. They've also told him you've only got 2 laps to get it done. A lot of pressure.
That's Marty, of course, because they only put enough fuel for the run that you want. This is going to be important for him. His splits say 7th. Of course, he wants 6th. Conway needs just a little more.
And he moves to 7th, but he's not in.
And look at that, 0.803 ahead of him, 0.861. So less than 1/10 of a second, he's on the outside.
Conway's best start this year was 3rd at Long Beach, a race he won. Here is Scott Dixon, who is also not in the top 6. He is currently 8th. And Dario is off course momentarily. That was a turn 4.
Just before the timing line.
We need this lap. This will be your last lap, P5.
I don't think, was he running hard enough when he crossed that line to make that, lap count?
No, definitely not. Now Hunter Ray, you see, is now in a transfer spot.
Yep. But just barely. Elio is not in a transfer spot. Neither is Dixon. So again, this 10-minute session is over. Watching cars complete their lap. Ryan Hunter-Reay currently in 6th. Now we're on board with Ryan Briscoe, who is 4th fastest.
He just lost some time in turn 3.
There's a checkered for him. Here comes Elio. We'll see if he can get into the top 6. He did not. Elio did not transfer. E.J. Viso did not move up.
He moved up, but not enough.
Yep.
Rahal already safely in.
Yep, he's 2nd quick. Let's see if Ryan Hunter-Reay, well, he doesn't need to advance. He's already in. See if he had turned in a better lap, however. Here is Tony Kanaan. So the 9 car is going to be the final car to cross the line. And here it is. Did Dixon advance? No, he did not.
Wow.
How about that? So here are the guys that did not advance. Castro Neves, Conway, Viso, Dixon, Kanaan, and De Silvestro.
What happened there? Dixon was in that first group. He was at the top of the heap.
Yeah.
What happened? Wow.
So it's Will Power, Rahal, Bourdais, Briscoe, Franchitti, and Ryan Hunter-Reay. The drivers that will advance to the Firestone Fast 6 to determine the pole winner and those who start 2 through 6 in the inaugural Baltimore Grand Prix, which you will see tomorrow live here on Versus. And before that, of course, we have the Firestone Indy Lights race, a full afternoon of racing beginning at 12 noon Eastern Time here on Versus. Stay with us for round number 3. Tomorrow on Versus, we begin our coverage at 12 noon Eastern Time with the Firestone Indy Light Series. IndyCar Central, presented by Verizon, will begin at 2 o'clock, and the green flag will come out on the inaugural Baltimore Grand Prix at 2:50 Eastern Time. Stay with us tomorrow afternoon for a full afternoon of racing here in the streets, Robin, and Baltimore has really taken to the Indy cars, I think, Robin Miller.
Bobby, I've been to all 15 street races Indy cars have run, which tells me I'm an old man, but I tell you this, this is as classy an operation. I know it's been kind of a mess getting people in and out in the traffic, but the way the track was set up, the fencing, the walls and everything, but the most important thing is the enthusiasm of the fans. I've seen a lot of people that used to go to Nazareth and Trenton and Pocono. The East Coast had a lot of IndyCar fans at one time, and I think a lot of them are gravitating back towards here, and these promoters should be congratulated. It's a hell of a nice operation so far.
It has been. Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake is the mayor of this fine city of Baltimore, and she and her group have done a great job in putting this together. The Firestone Fast Six to determine the Peak Pole Award winner is coming up next here on Versus.
Got a car that's better than the Ganassi guys. Got my two teammates between myself and Dario at the moment. If we can finish the way we start, that'll be a perfect day.
Green.
We are underway at Sonoma. Will's going to get the advantage.
Take your bud. Take your flag. Oh, Penske 1, 2, 3 today.
Will Power beats Elio, Briscoe, Franchitti, and Dixon, and the point spread now is just 26.
Best weekend you could ever have. Team performance, unbelievable. Back on top again.
5 wins on the season for Will Power, 6 pole positions. Firestone Fast Six members. There you see that Power has been in 9 of them. Scott Dixon did not make it. Ryan Briscoe will be in this session, and so will the others you see there on the screen. We have a newcomer to the Firestone Fast Six. Sebastian Bourdais has never been in one, but he is today, along with Franchitti, Briscoe, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Ray Hall, and Power. Let's go to pit lane first. Here's Lindy Thaxton.
And last week in Sonoma, Hunter-Reay didn't even make it out of round 1. Here he is in the Fast Six. He's flat spotted the right front tire. They've changed that. Other than that, we're debating up until the last minute on the front wing adjustment because they are worried. Strategist Kyle Moyer says that he's just going to tip it over in turn 10, Marty.
How about this performance by Graham Rahal, second fastest in the top 12, very impressive. And I just talked to Timmy Keene, his strategist. He said if we can just get a little bit better through turns 5 to turn 8, that's really where we're losing our time to Will Power. The rest of the track, we're either keeping up or beating the 12 cars, and those part of the track. So I think that we have a shot here at the pole. And remember, he has a certain aptitude at these street courses. Started 5th and finished 2nd at Brazil earlier this year. They might have a shot at this pole, Kevin.
Marty, Will Power, though, is still the guy to beat. The guy who won a record 8 poles last year has 6 in 8 road and street courses this year. He's been fastest in every session so far this weekend. Both practices, both segments of qualifying, and he has a leg up on everybody else. While everybody else ran 5 or 6 laps on their softer tires, the reds, he ran only 3 laps in that last segment. He came in and pitted with 2 minutes to go. They knew they were good to go into the Firestone Fast Six.
Wow, that's a good position to be in, isn't it? It's a 10-minute session, this Firestone Fast Six. And 1 set of tires, either primary or alternate, allowed per segment. Will's going for 7 poles, a record for most poles in a season set back in 1965 by A.J. Foyt when he was on the pole 10 times. Mario was on the pole 9 times in '66, and Danny Sullivan was on the pole 9 times in 1988. Here's Sebastian Bourdais. His best start in an Eyes on IndyCar Series race was at Toronto. He started 7th, so this will be his best start in an Eyes on IndyCar Series race. But this guy brings to the series an incredible resume in Champ Car and Kart. Marty.
I was talking to Sebastian before the qualifying session. He said, you know, honestly, I feel like we're where everybody else was at the beginning of the year. We're finally getting to where we need to be and learning what we need to know about this car. He said the way the car is handling, a little bit loose, tight into the corner, loose off the corner. You see him miss the chicane right there and blow this lap, but he is on 6-lap tires, a little bit more than everybody else, but he also was the first guy on the track, Bob. He'll try it again right here.
That little chicane he missed is off turn number 12, and it's there to slow the cars down because they have to go over. In fact, they go over 2 times in a lap. some light rail tracks. And they're thinking, as I said earlier, Jan, I think you told me that they're thinking about eliminating that for tomorrow's race.
Well, it's something that this driver in particular, Dario Franchitti, has been lobbying for because they ran straight through it on their outlaps and said, hey, it doesn't seem as bumpy as projected. So it's a chance, but I think if they've run this far into the weekend, Wally, it's unlikely they'll take them out.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea, only because you're going to be carrying so much more speed into that corner, and you can see they're having problems already because under that area where they're braking is so bumpy, and we've seen a lot of cars have trouble. If you're going to add another 15 or 20 miles per hour on that, it could get pretty hairy.
While we have a second, let's go to Kevin Lee, who's with Scott Dixon, who will start 10th.
And Bob, it's just the second time this season that he's not been in the Firestone Fast Six. What issues were you dealing with there in segment 2?
I don't really know. It just seemed like we lost a bit of grip and we weren't really able to keep up with the pace that we had been before. But it was a bit confusing because we had no end of lap times. We had no beacons or anything out there. So I'm not really sure. We can't really put our finger on anything. The car seemed pretty well balanced. We were just not quick.
What do you think you have for tomorrow? Because you've been quick. Well, at least you were quick this morning. You had the issue yesterday we talked about.
Yeah, I think the car's been pretty decent. We had a bit of a crash yesterday in the first practice, but all in all, I think both target cars, actually even G2, have been very good as well with Rahal. So, we'll keep pushing. It's obviously going to be a lot harder starting from 10th spot, but I think we'll be all right.
First impressions of this course?
It's pretty cool. There's a lot of great sort of left-rights, kickbacks, and some fast corners. I think turn 5 is a bit dangerous with that wall right in front of you there. If you miss the apex, you're gonna hit that hard like Briscoe did yesterday. So we'll be fine. But it's a lot of fun, and thanks to all the fans and everybody here in Baltimore. They've done a great job.
Okay, thank you, Scott Dixon, Bob.
So Hunter Ray pops into second spot, and you heard Scott Dixon say there were no beacons. What he's talking about is they actually will put a transmitter up on the wall in various places, and it gives you a message on your dash how you're doing against the pole position, meaning on his steering wheel, he didn't have that information. But we saw in those replays, Scott Dixon was hanging it out. There wasn't much left in that car.
Rubbed the wall a couple of times, but did not transfer. Will Power has just gone to the top. Graham Rahal is second, then Franchitti, Ryan Hunter-Ray, Bourdais, and Briscoe. Here is Will. And this is Will's 22nd consecutive appearance in the Firestone Fast Six. The closest driver to him is Dario with 6.
But watch the top of the screen because Graham Rahal has just gone to the top. Wow! And he trips over that curb. He is pushing it.
Marty has more on Rahal.
And you can see that he's not leaving much out there, is he, guys? And Tim Keene keeps challenging him on the radio, saying, you can even do better. Give me a little bit more on each lap. One more lap for Rahal.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of people getting loose at that spot right there.
I noticed that a while ago.
Just about every car we follow through there, they're getting sideways there.
Now, Will Power's color turned to yellow, meaning he has enough speed in the splits to take that position 1 back again. Turn 2, and then the very bumpy braking for turn 3. Shows he's almost 2/10 up. So if he's clean here, he should go back to the top. Oh, he lost a little. He lost a little, I think, in turn number 3.
He'll stay at second.
Look at that, .008. So that is a little.
Yeah. Rahal, meanwhile, continues to be the fastest. So we haven't seen the best yet.
Well, this will be the start of it because we already saw his big moment that he had, but this will be the start of what could be his best lap.
There's his mom. Debbie looking on, keeping her fingers crossed. Marty.
And after that big moment, as you guys described, Tim Keene said, listen, okay, back down just a moment, cool your tires for a second, then when you start coming back to the timing line, give me 2 more fast laps. That's what the plan is.
That may be asking a lot for how many laps he has on those tires right now.
He's done a fantastic lap.
Power trying to knock Rahal off.
Wouldn't that be something if he can't? This is the cooling tires. This is the phase that Marty was talking about that they told Rahal about. So we'll see if he has enough fuel, does Will Power. This is where you would step on it, Wally, to start a fast lap as he crosses the stripe here. He's on it.
Just a little more than a minute to go.
And Frank Key may be on a lap as well.
Was he on the power early there or what? That was amazing.
Graham completing his lap.
He lost 3/10 though. I mean, he'll stay on the top.
Yep.
But Power, meanwhile, is man. He likes
he's abusing that curve, isn't he?
But while he's doing this, Will Power has got the kind of splits we expect from Will Power if he can keep it going. Remember, he was up last time and lost it in turn 3.
I mean, all it takes is one lockup too. I mean, it doesn't take much to lose that advantage that you have.
He's only 0.04 up, less than 1/10 of a second at this point on the racetrack.
Headed for turn 3.
Now it's 0.06.
Make that turn 1.
So tight.
Now he comes down to turn 3.
Now 0.09. Still less than 1/10 of a second. He lost it last time in turn 3. He needs a good one.
Turn 4 off the corner, the line. Checkered flag. He did it. Moves to P1.
And that was that number. Look, 0.079. Less than 1/10 of a second. He gets Rahal.
Wow. Here comes Rahal. Ryan Briscoe crosses the line. He doesn't advance. Here comes Graham.
Yeah, I don't think Graham had anything left on those tires.
Nope.
Nice job. We ended up P2 there, buddy. Nice effort.
Right now he's second quick.
That's amazing. 0.079. He was so close.
Franchitti is still on a run. He is currently in 4th.
He's got enough speed to move up one spot.
Turn 1.
And, you know, being 3rd, if you could start 3rd here and not 4th, that's a big difference. You want to be on the inside. So this counts.
That right front up.
Yeah, but
a little bit.
He may have that may have gone away. He may stay 4th.
Franchitti will complete the qualifying. Here's the checkered flag. Did he advance from 4th? He did not.
Isn't it amazing? Just that little lockup just erases everything.
Will Power, Graham Rahal, Ryan Briscoe, Daria Franchitti, Sebastian Bourdais, and Ryan Hunter-Reay are the top 6. Graham's happy that he'll start on the outside of row number 1 as Power wins a pole again.
Welcome back to the streets of Baltimore, and peak pole performance qualifying. Peak performance pole qualifying is complete. There's the check for Will Power, who wins the pole for the 7th time this season. 10 grand, and he picks up a point, so he's 25 behind Dario Franchitti. Now in the race for the championship, you had to work extremely hard. Graham Rahal made it very difficult.
Yeah, he was very quick. I didn't think I was going to get it when they said I need to find a 10th, but the last lap was everything I had. I absolutely put everything into it, and it was good enough. So I thought when I went over the start finish, I thought I didn't get it, but they said you got it. So it was a good start to the weekend.
Your 3rd to last lap, it looked like you had a good one. Did you have just a little bit of a moment that cost you a good time there?
Yeah, I think I made a mistake out of the chicane. Then I backed off and had to think about it, and then went for one last lap.
Well, Will Power has an opportunity to chip into that championship lead a little bit more, starting from the point tomorrow here at Baltimore, Marty.
Well, Kevin, I just asked Graham Rahal, how does it feel to be the best Ganassi car here? He said, pretty awesome feeling. Have you ever been more aggressive than that in a qualifying lap? I mean, you should see some of the stuff you were doing.
Well, I mean, you know, the whole time I've just loved this circuit, and, you know, it's bumpy, it's tough.
You're a good 2 feet off the ground there.
Yeah, you gotta put it on the line, you know. And they were telling me after, you know, Q2, they said, hey, you're losing it all, you know, in that chicane that you just saw, and then a couple corners after. So I knew, you know, that I had to pick it up through there, and we did. And then, you know, we just put a lap together. It feels really good for the Service Central team. I mean, we've been up and down this year. We've had the pace the entire time, but we just can't catch the brakes. And so hopefully this is a good sign.
All right, you and I were hanging out last night. He said all we need is a little bit of break, and maybe this is the break they need. Graham Rahal will be on the front row with Will Power. We'll be back with more on Versus from Baltimore.
Will Power wins his 22nd career pole here. His wins from the pole began back in 2007 at Las Vegas, and his most recent, of course, was just last weekend on the opposite coast in Sonoma, California. He also took the checkered flag then. Here, let's take a look at the starting lineup. Will Power shaves the advantage that Dario has on him to 25 as Graham Rahal's first front row starts in Milwaukee in 2009. Ryan Briscoe's 9th consecutive top 10 start, and Dario has qualified in the top 10 for every race this year. Of course, he drew for 28th starting position in that second race at Texas. 11 through 20 in tomorrow's lineup. Tony Kanaan had a good qualifying run. He'll start 11th. So did Simona De Silvestro and James Jakes. Got a bunch of rookies back here, 17th through 20th. And the rest of the starting lineup as 28 cars will take the green flag tomorrow. Takuma Sato, he, of course, had a good run going, but brought out a full course caution, and his top 2 speeds were tossed out. So there's Will Power, and he has once again dominated the qualifying for an IZOD IndyCar Series race. Is it going to be another race like it was last weekend? I don't think so, not on this circuit.
There'll be plenty of action and carnage, I believe.
And I think in this qualifying, you want to have an odd number. Those with the odd numbers on the right side of the track, that's an advantage.
All righty. Well, College Football Central is coming up next. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for the Baltimore Grand Prix. Coverage begins with the Firestone Indy Light Series race at noon Eastern. For more information on the IZOD IndyCar Series, go to NBCSports.com. For Jan Beekes, Wally Dallenbach, Kevin Lee, Marty Snyder, Lindy Thaxton, and Robin Miller, I'm Bob Jenkins. We'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon for coverage of the Firestone Indy Lights here in Baltimore.